the city has been designated for the way that this gets done to have, I think, 5 or 6 licenses. So there'll be 5 or 6 stores that can sell it based on people who apply for those licenses, get state approval, and then have an agreement with the city and go forward. That's in the future. At the moment, our city and many others are in the process of creating zoning maps that will allow this sales to be located in certain places and not in other places. And we haven't finished that process yet. The state has mandated that that process is either going to be completed by December 1st, or we extend our moratorium on sales, basically, and have that extension approved, and then we can sort it out if we need a little extra time. And we're in the little extra time zone. Zoning joke. So there's that. There's a zoning subcommittee that was convened by the city council, and they came up with proposed zones, including I think one in Bradford, one somewhere else in town, and then 2 in the downtown, one on Merrimack Street and one on Washington Street. Through the process of committee hearings with planning board and zoning board, they have eliminated the Merrimack Street downtown zone. Washington Street is remaining. So there's that. There was no interest and no opposition, and I think one person who cared about it, Caroline Pino, who came and presented to us last month during these hearings. And so we're in a process, so that would seem to be like what the city opinions were. What's happened in the meantime is a couple of shops have opened up in Northampton and Leicester, and there's big traffic problems and lots of news about that, so that's like on people's minds. But what also happened while we're sort of in the moment between the studies and committee hearings and city council voting on the zoning, Caroline Pinault, our local business owner, friend, has bought a building next to the Hidden Pig at where Victor Emmanuel used to be, with the intention that this will be designated a recreational marijuana zone. That's a risk. And with the intention and expectation that she'll be able to come to an agreement with the city and have a host city agreement and then open up her pot shop. And those are big ifs on her part, and those are risks that she's assumed. Reward is high. Worst case scenario, I don't know. I'm working with her, but we haven't spoken about this directly. But I can imagine that part of the calculus is that the worst that can happen is I have real property in a hot and happening downtown.
That's true.
It'll work out.
Yeah, just the studio down.
Yeah, or
Well,
something.
yeah.
There's things that it can be sorted out. When she bought that property, it apparently came with baggage with its neighbors. It appears that
Which building is it? Is it the one across from, so the Hidden Pig is here and then there's the driveway to that parking lot? Is it the building on the other side of that driveway, or
it's
it's
attached
adjacent
to the
to the Hidden Pig? Okay.
Yeah, there's like lasting room.
Yes.
Victor Emmanuel, which
It's painted.
Oh, okay, I
It's
know.
painted
Okay,
purple
Victor.
with the
Yes,
Italian awning.
yes,
They
yes,
freshened up
yes.
the paint to attract her to the sale.
Well, I'm glad something will go in that building though, that will be.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Yeah, sorry.
So there's just a couple of things. I mean, the company who owns that building, not the Hidden Pig proprietor, it's a business I think that rents. Good job, Seth.
Look at you.
Yeah, he's
So
good.
helpful.
He's good.
So I assume it's the lasting room and
No,
No,
yeah, no,
to the right of
To the right of it.
To the other one.
The Hidden
That
Pig.
one.
Yep,
So she bought the Hidden Pig building.
So
Just
go ahead
that
and
piece of
move
it?
down the street a little bit and
Hidden
look at
Pig's
it.
next to it.
It's that's one physical building with
Ah,
3 or 4 different owners.
this here.
So those that 4 window Bay
God.
is her building.
This is Caroline
Correct.
building? Okay.
Correct. To the right is owned by Brad Brooks, and his renter is Hidden Pig, and there's 2 residential units upstairs. To the left, Phil Rice owns the Lasting Room, which rents from him, and I don't know if that includes the barbershop continuing to the left or if that's a separate owner, but that's what I know. So Brad Brooks, apparently, and I'm just going to say he never comes to these meetings. He's been invited and he doesn't take part, so he can't tell the story himself. But from what I hear, this is what it is, and I might be completely hearsay and wrong, but the story that's told is that he was in a stink with the Victor Emmanuel Club, and it had to do with the decks in the back. Hidden Pig was approved to have a deck put on. It's recent. It's made out of pressure treated wood and is code compliant, and we reviewed it at HDC, even though it wasn't required to be. And there is an identical deck that adjoins it in back on its neighbor's.
Not pictured.
So it must be an old picture.
Right. So
It wasn't
bless
built
you.
yet, yeah.
So there's now, the Hidden Pig has its deck here, and Victor Emmanuel, AKA Karen, has basically the identical deck. And Brad Brooks has not made an articulate case, and it's third hand, so I don't really know what the story is, but it's something to the effect that I was duped out of $30,000 for your deck. And because you bought that building, you owe me this money. And so, and then there is also the his colleague and classmate and friend, Steve, who owns Mark's Deli, has shown up with him at hearings now, and the 2 of them are speaking out against legalized marijuana sales in the area. So, it appears that there's some bad feelings. It may be that they're using, sort of tagging onto those bad feelings and disrupting the intentions of a new neighbor as a result of this continuing grudge, and hope that I think on someone's part that they'll recover some of this money. So what this is what I know of the background, but what it boils down to is there's now opposition to downtown zoning. At a moment when we're just before the vote is going to take place.
Is that the only opposition, those 2 guys?
I think that they're rallying like-minded folks, and it's like I say, these are not people who come to meetings like this. They're not consensus builders. They're folks who tend to like things the way they like things and don't really want to talk about it unless they get a chance to tell you no.
But why would the $30,000 on the deck? It's
It's
okay.
baffling to me, and I know it's been brought up several times that he's said this is, and another thing, you owe me money, and so it's hard to understand what the reality of the situation is. It's not a linear, coherent position that he's taking, but in a democratic public hearing, it amounts to vocal opposition that gains momentum, and it also makes people in a representative democracy who represent constituents wonder which way they should vote based on what their constituents want. So people who, city councilors who have a belief about whether this is the right thing for the city or not now are wondering, is there more opposition than I know about? Am I representing my constituents properly if I just follow my personal beliefs? So seemed like a slam dunk. It's getting complicated, and I think this is the type of issue that I think Haverhill.biz should take the opportunity to take a position on, and debate it on its merits, aside from what some the opposition stink is. But I think that we should have a position and throw it into the ring.
What does that opposition do? Like, was there a trajectory and then they stopped it, or were things delayed, or like what did? just them complaining about it, what does that actually mean for her?
It means that now on the eve of, well, the public hearings are now much more contentious.
Okay.
And they have been businesslike and sort of discussing merits, feasibility, and so forth. And now it's become a moral issue. So it's changed the face of the proceedings.
Has it delayed anything?
A delay is being proposed and now, which
Okay.
probably wouldn't have been the case. And it has been noted that in the news, the two places that opened up that are selling this stuff now have big traffic problems. And so the pitchforks and torches crowd are clamoring for, and we're gonna have that, it's gonna wreck my business and it's gonna wreck my business. And
How does more people
Yeah, how does
around
more-
wreck
yeah.
someone's
so,
business?
so this is a
Oh my
great
God.
conversation that needs to be
The
had.
hidden pig is gonna do
Really
really
well.
well.
Exactly, and so is Mark's.
Wait,
No.
there's
And
a
it's got that
burger and bacon
parking
place,
lot
right?
right back there,
Well,
yeah.
that's the thing, there's a lot of parking, there's by the time she opens up, if she ever does, there will be tens and possibly hundreds of these stores open in
Right.
Massachusetts,
Right,
and the shine is gonna be off the toy,
yeah, right. Of
It's-
course, the first two east of the Mississippi are gonna draw a lot of attention.
Hello,
Like, duh, but
when
it's
you're
just like
140
anything.
or
They made two
Like I said to guys-
$2.2 million in one weekend, those
Right.
dispensaries in.
It's just like the Chick-fil-A in the show.
That's what we were just
Oh, yeah.
talking
We were just
about.
talking about Chick-fil-A.
But that's a
Because people
success,
like
you know
freaking
what I
out
mean?
about Chick-fil-A.
Right,
And
it's
you
not
know
gonna
what?
be like
In
that
3
for-
weeks, nobody's gonna be there. It's gonna be like any other fast food joint. And
I'll be there.
My kids are really excited.
Oh, but here's what you do. You got the secret for the Chick-fil-A? It's you gotta do the app and you can go around the whole line
Oh, I
and
like
you do
it.
the mobile delivery and they
We
and they
had
bring
this
it right
exact
to you.
conversation. Like,
Exact.
You gotta get the app. I got it.
It's too
I haven't
funny.
gone yet, but
you
I'm
know
ready.
what the other secret is?
Chick-fil-A app.
Pickle juice. They marinate their chicken in pickle juice.
Oh, that's what it is.
Salty.
Anyways, but back to your original
Point.
What were we talking
So
about?
I forgot what I was talking about.
Debate
It
on
seems,
So what does this
Thank you,
group do?
Seth. That was kidding.
Yes.
Yeah,
What is this group's role in this?
Well, so,
This is a-
part of what the mission is to act like a neighborhood group who's made up of business owners and to weigh in on matters that are being decided by the city government and speak for business owners in relative to downtown. So,
it just, the messaging, it seems so simple for the messaging to work. Like, how is more people a bad thing? It just seems weird. Like, what is the other side of that? What's the downside of more people? What are they saying?
I think, to play devil's advocate, I would say it's,
Yeah.
you have out-of-town people who are just going to come and go to this one place and leave.
the
And you will
perception
have that,
that's
right?
possible, yeah.
That's possible.
Of course it's possible.
If it was a coffee shop and you had 1,000 people in line that just got coffee and left, no one would complain. You know what I mean? And I know you're devil's advocate, but it's like, well, why is that a problem? So what? Even if they just do one thing,
And I think that
you know, I don't know.
Steve,
It's- yeah,
Steve who owns the deli, Mark's Deli, has complained in the past when we did the bike race downtown. He was very concerned that his business would be destroyed irreparably because his regulars weren't able to access the parking spots that they're used to accessing.
That's the A1 Deli's argument all the time as well.
Right.
Anytime we try to.
So look, I don't think there's
The
a lot of
regulars.
merits to these things. I believe we don't need, I think what I kind of wonder is, do we have the belief that that Haverhill.biz should write a letter of support in support of downtown zoning and submit it and take part in the debate in that way.
And how does that letter is it signed Haverhill.biz? Is it signed Haverhill.biz, Matt Juros, your address? And like that,
I think
and like
that would be more
the
effective.
downtown, like showing.
I think.
I mean, it does get a
I
fine line,
don't
like somebody
know.
like me cannot put their name on that letter as UMass Lowell, but I
But
would be
it's
supportive
addressed.
as like.
But
Biz, but
this is a good question, and
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
how
the
you-
answer. I kind of feel like, what do you guys think we should do? I think it would be more. There would be more weight if we
I
had
think,
more signatures. And, it's also, I also feel like I would be fine saying me representing the group and the group has debated it and, either way. So,
Is there just for numbers purposes, like you said that one place made $2.2 million. Do you know how much went back to that city in tax revenue?
Oh, you could find that very easily.
'Cause I feel like that's
it's been. I've read that. I don't know the numbers, but I've read it.
I feel like the money
Yeah.
talks. Like we can overcome traffic issues if especially where it's going hand in hand with these underfunded
We were talking
schools
about it
and
last
everything
night
else.
when we
Like,
had the hearing here. We had the hearing here for the new charter school, and Caroline was here, and she was like, "I'm not going to speak about it, but the pot shop could, and not my words, not hers, but the pot shop could, be a significant revenue source for the city that would maybe help alleviate some of these school issues. I mean,
Mm.
it's
Well,
not
they've
going to be
proven to
the
help that if you look at Colorado.
yeah,
and
it's not going to be the be all end all, but more revenue is a good thing.
Well, and I actually watched Caroline's presentation, and she talked about the clientele of the people coming to the shop. And the clientele she talked about are consumers, are people coming in to purchase. They're not coming in for some cheap material, or it's higher priced items that they're coming in for, which I feel like a business perspective is okay. You've got consumers who are willing to pay more for this product, are probably willing to also continue shopping because they're not going to be using it immediately because that's not allowed. I think assumptions can be made about the clientele coming in, what level they're purchasing at, and where that money would be going in
And
downtown.
like you said, even if they don't, they've still bought at this business, and that's all tax revenue coming back.
so I'm Caroline's architect. And,
So does that put a conflict on you of signing your name on this letter or no? Or are people gonna look at it and say, well, of course he's signing this,
Well,
because he
if we're
signed
doing
it.
this as Haverhill.biz, we should really poll our membership.
So this is a thing.
Because I don't really want it to be seen as
Yeah.
our pet.
Well, and I don't want to alienate other parts of our group because
Precisely,
they
this
didn't
could be
show up
divisive.
and are saying, and it's being said that they believe something that they don't. I think that's an important piece.
I think we
It's
can do a
also a
lot
challenge because like our membership is kind of fluid.
Is what?
fluid.
It's
No.
fluid.
We don't have
And we don't-
official members, we
yeah.
don't have, voting
You don't
members,
have a
non-voting
board,
members,
yeah.
We don't have a board. And we've already had, I don't know, I heard rumors, anyway.
What were rumors?
No,
Sounds
the,
juicy.
No, now I'm like,
Sounds
it's something you
juicy.
know about, but I just want to follow up on, but I don't want to put it on air. But what I don't want to do is fracture the group.
Right.
And I think, and my concern is if we're trying to represent downtown business, we should remain neutral and do what we do to promote and daylight evidence and not so much opinion.
Ooh, this is a good question.
So then I guess the alternative, I agree with you. I'm not even a part of this group.
You're welcome.
I agree with you.
Thank you for joining.
But I think that maybe maybe you make a template letter that the individual downtown businesses that are part of the membership can send, and maybe that has just as much impact as one letter coming from Haverhill.biz. I don't know.
Oh, but the numbers and self-selected people, businesses.
Yeah.
Is actually, I think, a powerful message.
so folks could choose on their own if they
Yeah.
Choose on their own.
decided.
It's like, there's the Haverhill.biz letterhead sort of thing. And we can make no secret that we're the ones who are sort of organizing this. And the letter is in support of downtown zoning. The other issue that's been brought up because of the recent news is to delay all action until a traffic study can be done. And it's basically just a delaying action by gutless politicians. I mean, by people in representative government who are now concerned that they're not representing their constituents. That's really a more realistic, maybe, or diplomatic sort of way to put it. So that's going to be voted on tonight, and I think that's a problem. I think it's actually completely silly to expect that we would have problems like Leicester in March. And it's clearly
It seems like a waste of
Punish-
money
a waste
because
of money. And it's
because
punishing.
even if there is a traffic impact, it's not, like you were saying, it's not going to last all that long. So what does it cost for what does this traffic
It
study
can
cost?
cost $100,000. You know, a quickie would be 30 to 50.
And it's not really
It's not
representative.
necessary.
Exactly. That's the thing is traffic studies in like many of these things. It's basically data manipulation. It can be skewed to tell the story. I mean, developers are notorious for cherry picking the traffic consultants that will write a report that gets them through the town process, and it can be done. And I see this with so I think so. That's an issue that I feel like. So if we're going to do a template, we're not going to be able to affect the meeting tonight with this timeline. But a letter template that can be sent by different businesses if they choose to would support downtown zoning and would not support a traffic study or a delay. I think. Do all present believe that that's a good approach?
Yeah, I think that's.
I think it's a good approach. I do think that a lot of people personally are for the cannabis zoning, but professionally not able to
Yeah.
commit
Yeah.
to something like
Yeah.
that. So I think
Yeah, and I think that's right. And the thing is that
what you'll have.
what I think Haverhill.biz cares about is how this affects our businesses. You know, we all live somewhere, and presumably we have the option of being involved in our neighborhood group where we live, and that's one type of civic action group. But if it's not us, that doesn't exist for businesses downtown. That I think that's a void, and I think our livelihoods are potentially at stake if this goes sideways or issues go sideways without us having a voice. You know, so I think it's our
This is the type of issue that you created this group to talk about and think about and have an opinion on. So we should.
So, we're talking about, we don't want to, it's possible that some people who would consider themselves members would be alienated if we just wrote a letter and said that Haverhill.biz believes this and it supports downtown zoning. If we write a letter that is suggesting that people send it themselves, we could be said to be doing the same thing. There's not an opposition letter option from Haverhill.biz.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe it's better just to daylight the conversation that's going on now and let people act of their own accord.
Do you think we should encourage people to weigh in no matter what their opinion is and have 2 letter templates? Maybe that's
I think
No,
it's
I
just.
don't like having two. You don't want
I
to give
wouldn't,
people
I
too many
think, I
options.
think a template just suggests, let's make the bar too easy, and the last thing they want to read is the same letters 15 times. But again, maybe an announcement, an email that goes out, making people aware that this is the conversation that's going on, in case they haven't been following the city council. And, here are the opportunities to make your opinion known. Here are some of the resources to help you make an informed decision and show your support one way or the other. Again, try and remain neutral without pushing the issue. Because this one's contentious.
Yeah.
well, and
And it could go either way in terms of the benefit or proposed impact on some of those downtown businesses.
well, I think that's right. I think that's the thing is, if for example, to continue to be devil's advocate, if our instincts are wrong and there is a shit show of traffic and it does kind of screw up marks, kind of assholes. And I don't think that's likely to happen. But the point is that it does matter to people's businesses. This stuff does matter a lot, and that's something we should,
And
Well, and at the same
It's an
point,
important
the
responsibility.
people who run businesses downtown should have the same say as the residents who are calling their city councilors saying,
That's why we're here.
don't you dare do this because whatever. So, and yes, a lot of the owners are residents, but they may not be that same type of resident.
Yeah.
Because they're so busy running a business.
Well, I was at a seminar last week. There's like the week of professional seminars for architects that I don't get to go geek out. And one of the seminars was about the evolving demographic of, sort of young entrepreneurial business people who are repopulating downtowns and urban areas and sort of, breathing new life into it. What's going on? Who are they? And there's a couple of interesting points. One was that they're very diverse culturally, which is just freaking awesome. You are. And when you have that type of population moving in. But the other thing is everyone's a renter. And renters at the age group that they're talking about care a huge amount about social issues and global right and wrong, and will go march about that, and not a whit about community issues in the new park and an improved playground. That was like the local activism of the baby boomers, and those people would always show up for community stuff, but now no one shows up for community stuff. So it's sort of mentioned, the difference between people who are downtown who live and people who are downtown who have businesses. Yeah, so
That's interesting.
it is an interesting point. Well, so let's sort of find a path through this. I think a reasonable approach, a smart approach, is to circulate more than one announcement, or we'll figure out how to phrase it, to our emailing list about this issue, and to maybe we can list some bullet points, pro and con, and encourage people to do more research and notify their city councilors of what their opinion is, and do it on behalf of themselves as business owners in downtown, and attend meetings if they can, but at least, but I think that's a smart use of our organization.
Is there, I know it seems like we're treading new waters here, but like you made the point that Colorado and Oregon, they've been doing this for a while. Yeah, I'm not even just thinking of the data though, like there's gotta be some stories. Like there's definitely the same exact scenario of the Hidden Pig, Mark's Deli, and a dispensary somewhere else that they've been doing this longer. You know what I'm saying?
Change the proper nouns.
So like I'm wondering if there's some stories we can find to see if it kind of, rather than making guesses about what we think the impact is going to be, you could probably look at some other cities and see what the impact has been.
I wonder if Caroline has that information already.
Probably.
She's so educated with all this.
Yeah.
She has to be.
I just feel like a story
Or what has
says
happened
more.
with those two, with the traffic issue in Hampton or wherever it was, where they made significant impact on the city, like what's happening now? That was like last weekend.
Right,
But
So like,
also,
I know,
I'm
minority.
sure it's not even
Also,
an
those
issue now.
places opened the first day. It was a possibility to open.
Yeah.
Like Caroline's place is going to open after it's already been happening for months. It's not the same. It won't be all over the news. It doesn't have the same impact.
Right.
And she will be one of tens or
Yeah.
hundreds of places in the state.
So maybe the research isn't necessarily where that's gone after a week, but what it looked like in Colorado and Utah a year after. You know what I mean? Just to see
For the
what
other,
a
for the
new
neighboring
place-
business.
for the neighboring businesses, like what was the traffic situation at that point? You know what I mean? Like that might be, if there's even a way to find that out, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
But what we're trying to do is convince city councilors of this.
Is that really the thing though? Is it really traffic they're worried about? Or they just don't want it and they're gonna use traffic to get people?
Traffic is an excuse.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that
think
they
that's
probably
the
want to
case.
say, can we hide it, is there somewhere else that we can put it? They have to put it somewhere.
But I've been in these
Right?
meetings, and there's individuals. Joe Bevilacqua will vote no matter what. It's a moral issue and a done deal for him, and that's okay. There's not a lot of conversation to be had. He's polite, he's smart, but this is his belief, and he'll, no matter what he thinks his constituents think. And Tim Jordan leans that way, but is persuadable. But I think he's probably going to go that way too. There are a couple of others that are kind of on the fence that are definitely persuadable, much more so than Tim. In the balance, believe it's the right thing, and believe that there's a positive effect for downtown, that the negative effects can be, either they're fictitious or they can be mitigated effectively, and that it's something we should do. It's the right thing for the city to do, and that they believe. I see this. I've seen this in multiple meetings. That's their positions, but as I was saying, that because there's sort of a pitchfork and torch crowd sort of gathering about this, very vocal opposition. I think everyone is doing a gut check about, am I representing people properly? And they're questioning themselves. So it's not simple closed-mindedness in enough numbers to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really affect the issues. So, and that's why I think it's actually important that we do what we think is the right thing, because this could get undone for the wrong reasons.
Why was Washington Street chosen over Merrimack Street? Were they not even thinking about traffic and parking? Because to me, the logical place for one downtown would be Merrimack Street, not Washington Street.
Don't forget the Goki deck is temporary.
That's true.
It's not going to be there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, businesses in retail, hospitality, in downtown that rely on parking have access per capita to more parking spots than in Haverhill, than downtown Newburyport. A swishy, successful in the ways that it is, not perfect, but economically vibrant downtown. Our parking is not the problem. There's a perception of parking, an ease of parking, but I think the farthest parking spot from the farthest business in Newburyport is a 7-minute walk, and the same category of statistic in Haverhill is a 5-minute walk.
Mm.
And we have more per business per customer. So, either side, that's true for. So was it considered? Well, the truth is, it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but so should we do this? Let's you want me to put together like a draft of an official communique, and let's distribute it to the group and ask people to read it and respond by the end of the day tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we'll collect all of the responses and get something out by the end of the week. So that seems like, I think that's the smart approach. We're not going to affect the meeting. I'm going to go. We should all go tonight and say what we think needs to be said, if it makes sense. But Haverhill.biz is not going to show up. So, okay, I think that's a good approach. Thank you for convening. And going forward, should this organization have more strict bylaws, use Robert's rules, and bring up a motion, vote on the motion, and take a stand?
I think once we have the need for a board of directors and the like, maybe. But at this point, it's so fluid, getting consistent. I mean, the people in this room have been consistent, but there's a tachyon group that kind of rotates through.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have the scale that demands Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah, I think on a meeting by meeting basis, that's probably right. But what I'm more interested in is, I would like to be able to take a more solid stand.
Yeah.
For issues that come up when they come up. I mean, for example, if there's a developer that's going to do something really bad for us.
Speaking of which, bullet point. Yes, please go ahead.
Oh,
I have one
Ooh.
for discussion.
Let's roll through this and get on to that.
And then we have guests.
Yes.
Oh, it's
yes. Okay.
I'm enjoying this. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Okay, good.
This is really great.
Because and I wanted to sort of skip the normal order and sort of cut right to this and just get a check on this. But I mean, we would still be in the same position if we had something that a developer that was going to wreck our businesses. we would say, oh shit, there's 9 people here. How can we write a letter and say it represents everyone who would want to possibly come? It's the same. We'll have the same problem, and there's more existential issues potentially that I hope we would be able to sway. But we can't do it by being as sort of flexible and inclusive as we're going to be with this one.
I think this one just merits, because of the political and moral quandaries of some. It treads on ground that we couldn't say definitively represents our membership. I think that's where the challenge lies. On other issues where, someone's going to level 2/3 of downtown and put up a whatever. I think we could probably unite on something of that nature. This one, just because we know member businesses, not even member businesses, businesses that we'd like to be members of the group have serious contention amongst themselves. I think that's where we have to remain.
Well, see, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would like to think that at some point, Brad Brooks and Steve, who owns Marks, would come to our meetings and
Of course.
say the things that they need to say. It's like we're a community.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, I don't think there's an answer or a decision for us to make about that. I just wanted to sort of raise it as a topic. We have an approach to the current cannabis legislation. So you'll see emails and respond as you can, and we'll move that forward.
Cool.
That's what I got.
All right. In brighter news,
Yes.
they ground the corners off our sidewalks. Look, as you can see the picture there. I don't know if you've noticed, but there are much fewer tripping hazards through downtown.
Very nice.
Which this isn't the only one. There are probably, 40 or 50 spots along downtown that they ground the pavement flush, which I think is awesome.
Great.
And I want to thank them and make that noted. The next thing, I'm going to click on the right keyboard. There we go. So here's the bit of contention, and I know it's been in the Eagle Tribune. I haven't not looked at the letter, but this is what's going up under the bridge at Railroad Square. They're putting up mini wires. You can see in the middle around the abutment. This right here, you can see the lines of fence here. This mini wire, which is unclaimed, which is supposed to prevent climbing, as well as barbed wire facing out over the sidewalk.
Oh.
Why the barbed wire?
I don't know exactly, and it was it appears that it was.
And is that like right as you're like walking towards Stuffed?
That's Stuffed. That's right
Okay.
Yeah.
next to Stuffed. Yes. So this is right next to Stuffed on that
I
sidewalk,
wonder what Marks thinks of this.
and it faces out, and there's going to be trash. There's going to be weeds. It's going to look like a pit.
I've always thought that'd be a cute little pocket park.
Exactly,
know,
a
me
pocket
too.
park. Exactly. So they put nice gravel down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they
They cleaned
spent
it
so
up.
much money to clean up the bridge. Now to hide it behind a large. This
I thought
fence is
Ed-
not 6 foot. This is an 8-foot fence
Ugh.
with another foot of barbed wire above it.
Wire. That's a terrible,
Just
like,
seems
welcome to
unnecessary.
downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I walk past that off because I go to Stuffed.
It's a good place.
It's a good place. I thought it was temporary, that fencing.
No. So the lower fence here is construction fence. And I'm going to back up. The lower fence is construction fence. This 2-foot extension with the stanchions for barbed wire are new, and that runs the entire length of the truss of the bridge all the way to its intersection with the Merrimack River and circles back. So it's U-shaped, but it also continues across the bridge and runs in front of the cafe. In fact, that ran right in front of his decorative rail.
that's what that
all the way
was,
down.
yeah.
He got them
and
to,
he got them to
yeah.
reverse it.
which is good.
So the theory, I spoke to the owner, and it appears, and I don't have this on good evidence or not, but that this contract was written a long time ago, and the contractor wants to see their payment for whatever $1.2 million it costs to put this fence up.
The Fed's subcontract.
And so they're working quickly, it appears, to get that done, even though there is public pressure from the owner of the restaurant. And he was successfully got them, they came in and they cut all the fence posts down.
Good.
but they're continuing to construct it.
So what's our avenue to get in and
So the mayor doesn't like it. I heard.
doesn't like it, what doesn't
The
like
fence, doesn't like the fence. So the mayor's on our side.
today?
I know there's been, I've heard there's talk within city
Uninviting.
council. We just need to shove them over the line to get, and this business owner, and I forget his name again,
Yeah, the
has,
Steampunk
Steampunk Cafe, thank you. I didn't want to misrepresent by guessing. Has successfully battled against the MBTA and won. And there will not be a large fence in front of his establishment, because that was where he had outside seating,
Yeah.
where people were looking at the train coming down the track. And and he's done a remarkable job to renovate this cafe.
It's cute.
And to have that covered up by a fence that you can't see through unless you're staring straight at it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, good. Well, so it should be a pocket park under the bridge.
I think so.
I think that's a lost opportunity.
Yeah.
When I was on the HTC, when they proposed this years ago, and I wanted them to do a sculptural, they did a concrete encasement of the structural pier, and they could have done any shapes they wanted to, and I wanted to commission, what's the guy's name, Jack, the architect, or the artist who did the sculpture on the Campbell. I mean, he's really good. He's the real thing. He did the steel rail trail
Yeah.
sculpture.
Mhm.
And I wanted to commission him to do basically an abstract art mold that we would cast the concrete in, and maybe we could paint it, or maybe it's a piece of three-dimensional art that we would commission. And there's these budgets have, by law, 1% for art, and we could harness that money. So anyway, this was I have a bad I was fighting starting years ago and got,
But it just screams that,
But-
because that abutment is set back
it's
at least 30 feet from the curb,
And
from the
I
street.
think what they're this is for to keep the homeless people out of there, because they'll go there and stuff.
Guess they can't walk across the bridge? I'm sorry. I just see this crossing guard. The bridge can pass, but people cannot. No, it's ridiculous.
But so what are the steps to get this?
I think it's a conversation with the mayor to start, or a city, carefully, a phone call, an email to a city councilor to see, hey, what's your opinion on this? What can we do? We've heard there's been success with Steampunk Cafe and getting this removed. We want to understand, the pressures and decisions for why it was put up, and if we can do anything about it to prevent this from turning into an eyesore.
Yeah, this is our.
This is a beautiful bridge.
This is the
Yeah.
gateway. That's
This is
whenever
the gateway
anyone
to
talks
the
about
city.
the entrances to the downtown, they
This
talk
is it.
about that one.
To put a barbed wire fence is not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not right.
you're going through the.
Anyway, so-
It's going backwards.
Another one for us to advocate on, but shall we give our guests the podium?
Please,
Well, thank you.
thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, we're really happy to be here and to talk to you guys about the, so we're Creative Haverhill together. And the Cogswell Art Space Reinvent Cogswell campaign is a campaign created by Creative Haverhill. So we're going to talk to you guys about reinventing Cogswell, where we're at, where we're going, and just give you a bit more background on the project and information. I'm new to this team and to Haverhill in general. So I'm Erin Padilla, and I'm super pumped to get to be a part of Jen's team. We have a good time. But my background is I'm from Oregon. I moved here just about a year ago. So I'm new to Haverhill. I'm new to Creative Haverhill. But my background is in arts nonprofits. And I spent the last 5 years working for an arts community center that was very similar to kind of the route that the Cogswell Art Space is going. It was created for community art education, exhibitions, and heritage is where I come from. So at that space, I was able to be in charge of their education programming for adults and youth. I curated their galleries and planned their public events and lectures and things like that. And so when I learned about Creative Haverhill and the awesome work that Creative Haverhill has been doing and this project, I was pretty pumped.
So you came across the country to join Creative Haverhill.
Told you she was our angel.
Well, I don't.
Pleasantly surprised by this project when I moved over here. So I'm excited to be part of this team. Do you all know Jenny already? It seems like
Who's your friend?
everyone knows Jenny. I'm Jenny Arns. I've been working. I don't know you, so I'm Jenny Arns.
I'm Vanessa Henry.
Nice to meet you. I've been working with Creative Haverhill, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. I've been working with them for about 5 years as the only employee, so this is very exciting to me. Very exciting. If you couldn't tell, I'm an extrovert, so I really need people around me to stay motivated and to do good work. So it's great to have a team now. We had a team. We've always had volunteers that have been really invested in this project. But so Creative Haverhill has actually been around. It was incorporated in, I want to say, 1984 as a subset of the Chamber of Commerce. So it was the Chamber of Commerce's 501c3 nonprofit arm, and there were some scholarships and things. So it's actually gone through quite a few different phases, but where we're at now is Creative Haverhill. Our mission is to elevate arts and culture in the city. So that means creating some of our own programming. We've done things like Movies by the River, which was a creative placemaking project to activate an unused parking lot downtown, which is now going to be Sal Lepoli's building.
Activated by a building.
I guess it got activated. It's fine.
What you wish for.
So, and also just promoting all of the arts in the city. Poetry open mic nights coming up on Friday night during the Christmas stroll. We support the Haverhill Film Festival, which is an independent and experimental film festival that comes here every year and draws a national and international crowd. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, it's exciting. And then, of course, it's been really great in the past few years. We've been invited to be a part of some of the economic development conversations. And I just love that our city is open to hearing from an arts perspective. And so I love all you guys bringing up these issues of, this unsightly structure downtown. That's super important. And so we're just happy to be a part of that conversation. But until now, we haven't had any type of physical home. And so this building is our opportunity to have a place that the nonprofit calls home for our office space. And then we're going to get into everything else that it's going to contain. Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit about the building history. It was the George S. Cogswell School, opened in 1891, and it served as a public school for 100 years. And after it closed, it was used for school administration, but it's been closed, sitting dormant for a number of years now, and slowly just kind of wasting away actually throughout these rainy seasons. And so it was a building that had a large impact on the community years ago, and we really are hoping it can continue to have a large impact on this community. And it's just beautiful. So we will give you kind of a little introduction we have a fun little video that was done a little bit ago. So the general idea is, let's take this forgotten building, let's plan it for the arts. It'll be managed by Creative Haverhill that's already established and has great relationships with other already established artist groups.
And in case anybody didn't know, so it is a city-owned building. It had to be put out to bid. So our organization put a bid on it. There was one other bid. It was a developer who wanted to turn it into condos, but it was contingent on another old brick school building, which was Smiley School on 125, which had already been spoken for. Yes, great. So that deal fell through. We're the default bid, and nobody else has shown interest because it's just not an attractive development opportunity for they can't make the numbers work. So literally this building, if we don't do something with it, is going to crumble and be torn down.
So this video that we're about to show you was a promo video created a number of years ago for Patronicity campaign. And so it was created for the campaign. So please ignore the ask that's in the middle of it because it's irrelevant at this point. But the rest of it it's just a great story about our project.
A school for over 100 years. It is part of the fabric of not just this community, but of greater Haverhill. It tells the same story that other neighborhood schools have told. Many of those have been turned into apartments or to businesses. The idea of being able to keep this space for community use is really important. because it is such a beautiful building, such a historic building, it would be amazing to see it come to life again.
So we don't want to lose this one. We don't want this to be torn down to become a modern condo complex. We like to save it for the community.
Reinvent Cogswell is a campaign started by Creative Haverhill to reinvent this space.
We hope to have studio space for artists and programming for adults and for children in the arts. We also are going to have exhibit space for juried exhibits.
The idea is to create more opportunities for our community to come together and experience and create art.
This is the place to come to for learning, drawing, painting, sculpting, pottery, photography.
We're asking for $50,000. It's a key in our overall plan to renovate the building.
The $50,000, if we're successful at raising this, will go directly towards reinventing each of these classrooms into spaces that our community and artists can use, to the painting the gallery space, to adding lighting, to adding heating. We're very fortunate that we've got really good bones here. They just need to be brushed up a bit. If we're successful at raising $50,000, Mass Development will match that $50,000, and we will have $100,000 to reinvent Cogswell.
Haverhill really needs a space like this. Haverhill is undergoing a renaissance, and a cultural center like this is key to the further development of the quality of life in Haverhill.
Community art making is so important. We are asking you now to please donate and make this a possibility. Please support the Patronicity campaign and be part of the reinvention of Cogswell to ensure that the Cogswell School is part of our community for the next century to come.
Spoiler alert, we did it.
Yeah.
That one.
Do it again.
The capital campaign has been going on since probably, we think it's 2014 technically. And we'll talk a little bit more about where we're at with that, and we're kind of at an exciting point with it. So that's kind of why we're revamping and reinforming our community. But before we get to that, because we can't take you on a tour right now, we wanted to give you a little bit of a virtual tour and talk about just ideas that we're throwing around for the space. We are in the brainstorming side of programming and specifically what's going to be happening, but we'd like to share with you kind of what we're hoping will happen within these spaces, or at least an idea. So this is the downstairs when you first walk into the building. We are hoping that I'm going to stand up because I'm better at pointing than using words. So this room up here, we are hoping to plan for pre-K classes. So it'd be mostly just morning and give an opportunity for parent and child classes that are centered in the arts, or just maybe not parent and child, just really trying to catch that pre-K group of kids and get art introduced to them at an early age. And then we'll probably also utilize it for adult classes and rentals. We want to have very flexible space within this building. So we talk about a lot of these spaces being utilized for different reasons. So this would be pre-K, probably adult class, and rentals depending on the need. This building right here, this room right here would be planned for specifically for rental space. So we've addressed that there's a need in Haverhill to have more of just unique rental space that is flexible and can be utilized in a lot of different ways. So we want to make sure we're filling that need by at least giving one room, if not making other rooms multi-purpose, to allow people to rent the space and utilize it, whether it's for meetings or bridal showers, baby showers, whatever the community needs. We'd love to have a space that's dedicated towards rental space for the community. And then this downstairs room would be specifically for adult programming. So we're talking painting classes, drawing classes, figure drawing. We'd be bringing in local artists to teach these classes, offering them both in the morning and evenings for adults. And then we plan to have a formal gallery space that would be a juried gallery space focused on local artists, but also on introducing new artists to this area and planning to have one national or international artist show per year, but also making sure we're focusing on our local artists throughout the rest of the year and our emerging artists. So working with the public school district and giving our students a really wonderful place to show their work. So having dedicated gallery space is something we're really excited about. Do you want to talk about this?
Sure. So part of my job with Creative Haverhill is connecting artists to opportunities. So I have a pretty good handle on the, the artists in the city and what they're looking for. And it's funny because people have been suggesting artist studio spaces downtown forever, and nothing seems to quite be the right fit for our Haverhill artists. So what they're looking for, a lot of the artists actually have studios in their homes and they're very comfortable there. They're open to being in community if it's the right space. So that means, it has to have the right light. It has to have an elevator. It has to have parking. And so I guess when I'm talking about those artists, I'm thinking of kind of the older group of artists in the city. And many of them are very, very interested in moving out of their homes and into this space in particular. I think that there's still eventually going to be a need for a little bit more grittier studio spaces downtown. But I think that that's more of the millennials, 20s and 30s crowd that wants to be in the downtown directly. But this is a great start because it's dedicated studio space that will be in the Cogswell building over in Bradford's. So it's the same layout as the first floor. It has 4 big classrooms. 2 of them will be used for artist studios. They'll be sectioned off, so various sizes depending on the needs you're looking for. And then we're going to be using the other classrooms for our summer program and after-school program as well.
And then the basement, which is honestly my favorite part of the building. Super
really
creepy
bright?
right now.
Actually, that room on the top
Yeah,
is
that-
very bright.
It's really
Yeah.
that bright.
The other ones, the lighting is not that bright.
Enhanced.
Enhanced.
But my background is ceramics, and so I walked into the basement and just felt like it was breathing and needs to have a ceramics lab down here. It just feels like it's already there. And so we're really excited to plan probably in like the 1.5 stage of Cogswell or the stage 2 of Cogswell to have the basement turned into both youth ceramics lab and an adult ceramics lab so that we can maximize the programming within both of the spaces and give adults open studio access. So they wouldn't be limited by we want to do a kids class, from this time. Adults would be able to utilize open studio all day long, and then we could plan adult classes as well. So we want 2 ceramic studios, and then I didn't get photos of the whole rest of the second half of the space, but the top image is an example of the other side, and it's a massive space. And so printmaking studios, glass studios, wood shops are things that artists can't really have in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
They're really expensive to work to find a space to utilize, and we have a printmaking museum here in town. Which is a wonderful, wonderful resource for this community, especially when trying to find artists who need a space and things like that. So we would love to have a printmaking studio down there for artists to utilize as open studio and then to plan workshops and such. And I'm really excited about trying to get a wood shop down there as well so that artists can bring down the costs of their supplies by creating their own frames, their own canvas structures. We'd offer classes to teach artists how to do this, but one of the ways to keep artists in Haverhill is to give them a space to create, help teach them how to lower their costs of what they're creating, but still creating quality work and selling and showing their work here in town. And so kind of being able to do the whole picture of that through this space, the teaching spaces, the gallery space, and the artist studio spaces would really, I think, be a huge resource to our artists and keep them here in the town.
And so the room on the top, that was the teacher's lounge. And then one of these other ones was the cafeteria.
The blue one was cafeteria, and the green one was the gym.
The gym, just so you know. And this was this was a school in the early 2000s. It was actually being used. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're back after.
These
just
images
fly through
were,
these.
we can kind of fly through these, but because they're referenced in the video, but just gives you an idea of these renderings aren't exactly what we're planning, but they're a good picture of what this gallery space here could look like once finished. So we just want to do a little compare gallery for you guys.
And right now there is no juried gallery for our artists to exhibit in. So if they want to bulk up their artist resumes, they're going to other cities, and that's kind of sucks.
Community rental room.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's really good. This is what an artist studio space.
An
could
artist
look
would
like.
rent space, I mean, you
Yep.
get income from that.
Yes.
Another
And it would be depending on size, probably similar to what
Yeah,
you do
what we do
here. Windows or not windows, things like that.
And then both the downstairs main entrance area and the upstairs have these main hallways, which are not only just beautiful and will be great for events and things like that. The walls are perfect for community gallery space, so that whether we have a national artist showing in the main gallery at some point, we'll always have space that's being served for the community artists, and maybe even reserving the upstairs just for our studio artists and youth artists, so they're always getting a space to show. So the project is to put life back into the school and kind of boost the creative economy by doing that, right? And so essentially our goal right now for this capital campaign is 2.5 million. And the funds that we raise in this specific campaign will go directly towards gaining the acquisition of the building and making immediate infrastructure improvements. And so listed here are the improvements that we're planning. So updating electrical, plumbing, fire suppression, HVAC, renovating each room to fit its specific purpose, adding a lift or elevator for basement, second floor accessibility, making sure that the wood floors are repaired and refinished, and all of our renovation will be completed with the approval of Massachusetts Historic Commission. So everything that we want to do to this building is to kind of give it a facelift and kind of boost up what's already there. Because as Danielle said in the video, it's a beautiful building. The structure is there. It just needs to be fixed up a bit. And we don't want to change the kind of funk that's there. We want to keep the
Character.
feel, the character, that's what I was looking for, there.
You want to
Yes.
do it?
So, will you be applying for National Historic Tax credits?
We have them.
Yes.
Oh,
We
you
already
do
have
already?
What do you need to do to still gain acquisition to the building?
We are purchasing.
Yeah, we're
The
working on the
building.
purchase agreement with the mayor.
And is it like, are you buying it for like $1, or do you actually have to
Wouldn't
like?
that be nice?
Yeah, no, we actually have to
pay like
purchase.
whatever the
Yeah.
Market
value,
value?
market value,
I think
or
it's
assessed
lower.
value, or?
This
think
is
it's
after
assessed
we
value.
have fixed the roof, and so in the
We've
time
got
that
the
we've been
golf.
leasing the building, we've
Ask
been
for
paying
money.
for all of the improvements. Not improvements, but I guess the maintenance basically to
We
keep this
just
thing
got a
from falling
hole in the
apart.
roof repaired yesterday. That has been,
Right.
I've been emptying out like 15 buckets. Rainfall.
So
you know.
basically, if we hadn't been in this building for the last 4 years, it would be done.
Yeah. But it's not, I don't believe it's market value, it's assessed
Okay.
value is what we're purchasing. So
That's
It's
still,
still-
it's still like.
Yeah,
It's called
give
not
them a
supporting the
deal.
arts.
Yeah,
yeah.
If it's not being used, let somebody.
Lawrence can give
Would be
Lipoli
nice.
Riverwalk for a song. I
Right.
think we can
Right,
give-
yeah, yeah.
The community
Yeah.
can
Maybe
partner
there's a
with this
story
one.
there. I don't know.
well, the
Um,
building I was at was just like this one back in Oregon, and the city sold it for $1. And it makes a huge difference when you do that. But we don't have that.
There's
It's
no-
one thing
there's
if
no
you're
other option
Developing
for
it
it,
for
so-
residential, residential units in your commercial organization. It's quite another as a nonprofit that's community driven to bring this to Haverhill. Quite another story.
He can find $500,000 somewhere else. It's not gonna make or break his budget,
So it could make or break our budget. Just so there's
Yeah, and it is. No, so where we're at with the capital campaign that we've been working on for a number of years now is that, and this just kind of breaks it down in a way to understand it a little better, is that we have about 38% of it secured definitely in the bank that was acquired through fundraising that happened starting in 2014. 22% of that is promised funds that aren't in our bank yet. So we know that they're coming in. It's definitely happening, but they're just not as secured as in the bank. So 22% of that
It's like
is
line item. We have a line
guaranteed.
item in the state budget that Representative Linda Dean Campbell put in for us. Things like that. Pending.
Yeah.
Things can always happen.
Yeah. And then projected funds are things that we're currently working on. So we're currently working on an MCC grant. We have a couple other grants that are going through. So there are things that we've applied for or are applying for that we are hopeful to get, but we don't have a guarantee. And then the remaining 20% is what we're trying to finish out with revamping capital campaign and adding in some more grants that we're going to be doing, as well as doing local fundraisers and trying to boost community momentum, along with bringing in individual funds. And we're planning on doing things like naming opportunities to get some larger money in, and doing some calls to businesses and things like that, now that we're kind of at that almost 80% moment of within this capital campaign once we complete the projected and pending.
There's some weird stuff with the tax credits too that makes it like a little bit hard to portray to you guys. But we're close.
And just an update on just recent fundraising and what we already are planning. So we did a Giving Tuesday fundraiser, which thank you to anyone who donated to that and shared and supported it. We went above our goal, which was $3,000. So we gained $3,085, which a percentage of that is matched by Facebook. They haven't informed us how much yet, because it's all dependent on when they ran out of their matching funds. But a percentage of that was matched by Facebook, and we are currently doing an end of the year matching campaign with a private donor who's also matching anything that comes in through the end of the year. So that Giving Tuesday money is tripled. Almost. It's at least doubled, and then whatever Facebook is giving us. And then throughout the end of the year, we're continuing to do any money that comes in is going to be matched by a private donor.
Susan Consoli.
My cousin,
You know her?
she's an opera singer, right?
Yeah.
That's the one.
How fun is that? She's singing. You should come.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So, and the spring benefit concert. So we're planning that for probably end of June. So spring to early summer, featuring Eliana De La Guardia, Susan Consoli, Lauren Sprague, and Risa Anacchiario.
Would you come to a 5K called the Onesie Runsie?
Ooh,
Do I need to
sounds
wear
like
it?
there's a
Do I
scientific
need to-
environment there.
I'm not sure I feel that.
All right, I'm gonna pick your brain on that one later.
We'll discuss that online.
Just brainstorming. Just brainstorming.
Now, I have a random question.
Yeah.
So just something I was thinking about, and when I've seen other spaces, have you looked at doing like a restaurant or brewery or something
In the space.
in your space as a like? I'm just thinking about there's a place in Portsmouth or outside Portsmouth. Have you seen that
Oh,
space?
3S?
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like a brewery,
Yeah, Danielle's on
restaurant.
the
There's
board.
something
Yeah, she's
there,
on the
and there's
board.
art space, and I think it's like run like a nonprofit. I don't know.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like breweries are hot, right? Expensive, but like there's a brewery like everywhere.
Yeah.
Or some kind of restaurant that could
Or cafe.
cafe.
We are planning on having a kitchen for catering, a small,
Yeah.
very small
It's
catering
just a way to
kitchen.
like
That you could
you
rent.
could rent that to a company, you know, a business, and they're going to pay you a
Yeah.
guaranteed, you know, income every
Mhm.
month as part of
Telling you,
their.
or
rent.
like, yeah, to,
I don't know.
so yeah, large, we
kinda
have our
things.
hummus business that
Mm.
we only run in the summertime, for farmer's market. And we need a space, like a shared space
Oh,
to,
community
because
kitchen.
we don't have the capacity. Whole Foods wants our hummus, we don't have the capacity. We don't
Wow.
have the capacity to like,
How do
do
you not
more.
bring us
Wow.
hummus?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm like, I live on
What, that didn't occur to you?
I'm sorry. Yeah. But so we, I mean, it's people with disabilities making this hummus, along with the people who assist them. And we really wanted to like partner with people. The only way we can make it happen is like to partner. And so like the business per se wouldn't be making the money. It would be our funding from the state to help us keep people with disabilities employed.
Mhm.
And, you know, the product
Have you
is
been in
like
touch
extra.
with Northern Essex about what they're putting in Sal's building? Because aren't they going to do a shared like?
They're
community
doing some
kitchen
shared
thing?
kitchen thing, but it's more like you run the space, like, and you're paying like a lease.
They want you
type
to
of thing.
rent
Yeah.
space, and it
Okay.
and it
Yeah.
is as like a bridge space for startups, but
Right,
it's
like
a-
what they
it's
did
a-
in what they do in the Lawrence one,
Yeah,
right? That like
But
kitchen.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Wayne was in yesterday actually
Yeah.
telling us about, it, but it's a revenue
Mm,
generator. For
Yeah. Yeah. We don't really have
Right.
Yeah,
money.
Yeah.
but I'm just
It's a
thinking
good
like,
idea.
question.
I don't know, like if that's something that's feasible,
Yeah.
like why
Yeah.
not get a small restaurant or brewery or just something.
Or like
good?
something that even
don't know if
rotates,
it
like,
has
this
like, you know, you
footage.
have
I
like
don't know.
Hobbsy's there
Yeah.
for, you know, nighttime weekends, and you have, you know, us there
Yeah.
during the day, helping people and selling in a kind of pop-up shop kind of way, or
That's
you
a
know.
great point. I mean,
I don't
like
know.
I said, we're still at the beginning stages of programming and things like that. And even when it comes to what's exactly happening, how the building is going to be constructed and what will be within it. So I love getting these ideas because it just kind of adds to what could we do with this space. It goes beyond what our brains have come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. That's good to think about. Thank you.
I say this all the time in every single meeting, and I know everyone's annoyed, but podcast studio and green screen shooting space.
Yeah.
All you need is quiet and a room. That's it. And then you
Does
have
HC
it.
Media have that?
They won't
do,
allow
but you
anybody to
can't.
use it unless it's for HC Media.
Oh, is that true?
Really?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
I was
Despite
I
many,
I
many,
know,
many
we've-
requests from
I-
me.
We should work
I
on
don't
it.
wanna do it.
Well, yeah, that's an offline
Oh,
I don't know
sorry.
if it's that they don't want to, but Comcast's
It's an offline-
relationship
well,
with
we
them
can
doesn't
have an
allow
offline
them, yeah,
conversation.
you can with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't allow them to provide it as a shooting space unless you're making a program for HC Media.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was though, like you can keep your content, but it has to be shown on HC Media. So like
You can sell it
you
to-
can still have it, like you can still do it, but then it has to be able to be shown.
That's
on
the
HC.
way I understood it too,
Okay.
but I've been told no 10 times now.
Mm.
So
Oh, okay.
how many no's can you get?
Yeah.
Well, the space I was at before had a very small recording studio, and we were just kind of marketing it. And it was hard. It was hard to market, but I think once it gets established, it sells itself. That type of space. So you never know with the
I don't know if
downstairs
there's a market
area.
for it here other than.
That's what
know
I would.
me,
That's
but-
what I would wonder is the market. You know,
Yeah.
but it's definitely something that can function well within that type of space.
Yeah,
So that's good to know as well.
So if anyone who's known me for the last couple of years, you've probably heard me complain about how there's no sustainability for Creative Haverhill. We used to be funded by a major, I wouldn't say a major grant, but about a $30,000 grant from the Mass Cultural Council, and that was historically how we ran our programs every year. And the state, with cuts to arts funding, sort of just slashed that program, and we kind of waited around to see if something else was going to come out to support us and numerous other communities that relied on this money, and nothing came. So we've been on a very shoestring budget, which is why you don't see me, out doing a lot of activities and trying to make my own money, taking jobs like painting windows at Harbor.biz. But what's wonderful about and what gives me hope for our organization is this building, because this would then take Creative Haverhill from an unearned income or support model to a model that includes some earned and unearned income, and would just be really a backbone for the organization and some sustainability. So that's exciting.
What's in the clock tower?
What's
At
the top? I don't know.
That is just that's where the spiral staircase is.
Yeah,
So it's just beautiful light coming in. There's nothing on top
But
of
the
that.
spiral staircase goes someplace. It's not a thing that is.
It's not-
Isn't that a room for the stairs.
It's just
Where's
a-
it go?
It's just a high
ceiling.
ceiling.
It's just with lovely light
think
coming in.
so.
It's really pretty.
That's the studio.
That's.
I know, I know.
That should be the podcast.
I want the
Podcast
principal's
studio,
office
you
'cause there's a
blast that
bell.
in.
Oh, you get-
You can ring
Yes.
the bell
Yeah.
You get a bell.
in the principal's office.
Second choice.
There is a really epic attic too that has the staircase, and you walk up
Epic
and it's
attic.
it's
You haven't
gorgeous.
seen that
It is because it's the ceiling is so
We gotta go look
tall.
at the attic.
Oh.
We
we-
really want it to be black box.
When it's
Theater,
more
but I
weather
don't know.
weather appropriate, can we have a Haverhill.biz tour?
Yeah.
Yes, I
In fact,
to
would
give
it
you
be
a tour.
possible to have a Haverhill.biz meeting there?
There's no
It's a little
internet.
cold.
No, I mean, no.
Yeah,
As Seth was saying, weather appropriate when the time comes. Is it occupied and available for stuff like that, or not so much? Right?
We don't have an occupancy
We don't have
permit because it doesn't have heat.
Or running water, right?
There's
No.
no bathrooms. There's no heat. There's no internet.
So maybe just a tour.
I think
Thinking a nice quick tour sounds good.
time will come for that.
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah.
So we'll just
Exactly.
finishing up real quick.
Yeah. We did do a market analysis with the Architectural Heritage Foundation, establishing what are some of the needs of Haverhill, and they displayed that event spaces, artist studio spaces, and after-school programs are definitely needs within this community, especially for event space is something that's flexible, that can be utilized for a lot of different things, and that's unique and interesting and has character, which we would be able to fulfill that. We've talked about the artist studio spaces, and then with after-school programs, there are a number of after-school programs in Haverhill, but they're mostly focused on recreation, fitness, science, technology, and homework, which is awesome. But we would really love to have one that's focused in arts and in STEAM, and really boosting that. And we did a survey of 733 families who responded positively, is essentially what those numbers are saying, that they're excited about that space. They would plan to utilize it, and we have great relationships with Tina Fuller, who created after school programming and has good relationships with the buses and everything to try to get busing and such to the building. So these are established needs that we feel that we could fulfill easily. And yeah, and this is, we can just, it's just reiterating that. So just how can Haverhill.biz be involved with this? One of the ways is we are applying for an MCC grant right now, which
For the
asks
fourth
for
time? Third time? Fourth time.
third or fourth. I keep hearing both.
They're going to give it to us one of these days.
We're getting it this year. That's fun. But we would love a support letter from Haverhill.biz just to show the committee for this grant that the businesses believe in this project, and they believe that having more creative companies and institutions and organizations will boost the economy of Haverhill, and that we would play a significant role in that.
When is the application due?
The application's due
January.
January 11th, so if we can get a support letter by the end of the year.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's have our next meeting. Give us text.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll put it on letterhead for us, and we'll circulate it at the next monthly meeting, and we'll sign it. And
That'd be wonderful.
I think that
That'd be great.
Okay.
I don't think anyone would feel like we were.
This
signing.
one's not a point
It's
of
not a
contention.
Yeah, that's right. And plus, no one's going to see it's a grant application. And
That's true.
Just note that, like, our next meeting, like, the first Tuesday is New Year's Day.
Oh.
so what's the next? Yeah.
The next one would be January 8th. So is that too late for your?
We can provide you a signed letter at the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
Is that
it should
all
be
right?
fine. Tina will wring my neck, but she'll be fine. I think that we would really appreciate the letter. So yes, that would be great.
So
Thank
put
you.
it on your calendar and come to that meeting, and
Okay.
or get it in our inbox as soon as you can after this meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on letterhead and so forth, and then you guys just bring it.
Yeah.
We'll circulate it and sign
That would be wonderful. Thank
That would
you.
be great.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. And then obviously we have a matching campaign through the end of the year. So any donations are appreciated, and just spreading the
deductible.
word.
Mhm.
It's all tax deductible. But spreading the word about this building, this project, Creative Haverhill, we're really trying to boost the excitement and the community involvement in this. So through your networks, spreading the word would be really appreciated as well. So thank you. That's it.
And thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for, your creative industry nights have been so
Oh,
cool.
I'm so excited.
And
Wow.
I know that that's been like a real focus of this group. And I just personally keep up the good work.
That's what I wanted to talk about next, because I do have some news.
Yes.
If we want to go in the film creation direction, the Mass Production Coalition is totally down for helping. I talked to the guy that runs it. He's like, I love the idea. He said that he did some research on us, thinks the events are really cool. He doesn't know.
Look at that, did research on that.
Research,
Yeah,
we're researching.
There's stuff out there.
75th down on the list, and the.
No, he's at Haverhill.biz, we come up every time.
He loves the idea.
There's only one.
He's like, he's open to potentially coming to a meeting, but I think that's probably a long shot, because it's just knowing this guy, having him nailed down for a time. But he's basically like, what do you guys think? Any ideas, bring them to me. Their board of directors are really great. Like, they are involved in everything. New England Studios, the film commission president, like everyone that is anybody in the film world is on their board, and they're all completely accessible by me, because I'm part of it, and also the Mass Production Coalition's involvement.
Let's do this. Can we pick a tentative date target? And I think we should I think that's the right theme for this next one.
He loved it.
I think a winter meeting that's about, being indoors and viewing.
Yeah, I
You know, I
think,
think
well,
we-
maybe, I mean, can we get like our steering committee together?
Yeah,
and
let's do-
Before, I'm not ready to like pick a day, I feel like we don't have enough of our.
Well,
Well,
the interest is there. He's
Yeah.
down for it, and he's.
But maybe we could try to do a steering committee either right before the holidays or right after.
Let's do it right
and
before,
really,
because I think if we can do,
and invite, I mean, anybody's welcome to be
yeah,
part of it.
if you show up, you're on it.
Yeah.
That's a no
Careful.
spell.
I know, that's how
So, how's every Tuesday?
Yeah.
I next week or the week after, we should do it, and get it booked. So the model that I think is starting to evolve for these things is we, put our arms around a certain number of local businesses that work in this realm. And they're part of presentations or somehow a walking tour or both or something like that. And we find a superstar.
Yeah.
It's Stephanie's fault, she did this first.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got the answer to that, but it's be
No,
thinking and.
no, but I feel like between the board members and just like throwing some thoughts out there, I think someone will rise to the surface. I don't know how or who yet. I mean, I
Right.
just talked with him yesterday, but he was immediately interested and was like, whatever you want to do. The only thing that gave him a little bit of pause is I was like, is it what I was talking to him? I'm like, what is it? Is it an NPC event through Haverhill.biz? And he was just like, I need to be super careful with anything that I put the company's name on. He goes, but you have access to the board, you have access to our contacts. And he was like, I'm positive that we can all together put together something really nice. Whether it's part of NBC or not, I don't even know if that benefits us.
Right.
But
It's-
that's
yeah.
the only thing he was a little like, I don't know, because then that's up for discussion.
So, I mean,
I mean, I think we'd rather it be our
Me too,
event,
me
right?
too.
Like, and if we can get this outside support, that's great, but it's
If-
gotta
if-
be our event,
if it
right?
adds some interesting people to the group, to the room that
Well-
night, would. But aside from that, we want.
What he was excited about is this is potentially going to be filled with people that could benefit from being a member of NPC and are probably not because of just where we are.
And would
So-
that come with some like sponsor dollars or some other kind of in-kind contribution? I mean, we could probably,
I didn't want to get too far.
yeah,
until
just
we
something
had
to
a
think
clear
about,
ask.
what we,
Pull them in first and then set them.
yeah, and then we'll
That's what I'm
make an
thinking.
ask.
I mean, because the cost of that type of ask is,
Yeah.
it's not really a big ask.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
we,
No, it's not. And if they get a couple of members out of it, I mean, it's like $350 to be a member for a year. And if they get a couple of them from that, out of the 60 or so people that will show up, I mean, that's,
Double their sponsorship.
yeah, it's great.
right.
You know? Okay, good. Thank you, Ben. I think that's, I wanted to make sure we at least said something about that. Let's circulate a suggested meeting time for next week or the week after, so to the gang.
I'll show you. Wow.
You're having a hard time with
See it, so
it.
I'm just going by-
Oh, the video from AC Media.
Yes.
Yeah, I tried pulling that up when I was on the train and I couldn't.
Wouldn't do it.
So- Is it up?
Selfishly, it would be great if we could do the week of the 17th because I'm shooting every day next week.
So the week,
Yeah, the week of 17th is better for me too. Next
Okay.
week is already kind of crazy, but I'm here all week leading up to business.
we've got updates to the website. So if you have a moment, take a look around.
Oh, to the website.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Our
share
website.
I will
We've got-
share the creative industry video on our
Facebook.
iHub page at some point.
And our YouTube channel been added.
Nice.
And there's also got past events listed now with some of the videos, all the agendas, presentations.
Well done, Seth.
And so that's coming together. My hope is to grab more of these people, because I am hearing a common thread, at least from restaurateurs, that our time is not great for them.
Yeah.
And they work 100 hours a week,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
being able to get it on demand, I think is key.
Good.
So we're getting there, and the video is up on HC Media, so if you get a chance to.
Yeah, it's always funny to like.
Sing us out with it for
And
today.
there's a park in Brooklyn called Fort Greene Park,
Start from the beginning.
which is sort of right across the street.
45 minutes,
long.
yeah, it's the whole,
Yeah,
it's the whole
So I
speaking
tend to go
program.
there, and
It's
I was sort of walking, fly him out too. I was like, I don't need a schoolboy Q. I just wanted this Kendrick Lamar I love this guy. This is the.
Which I think it came out.
This is
It did come out. I watched the whole thing
You did?
last
Good,
week, yeah.
good.
But this was
Parts
like
I
a
haven't
I was like,
seen
oh, I'll
yet.
watch it for a few minutes, and I got sucked in, and I watched the whole thing.
Exactly.
You know, full of great things and great. I look at this picture, I see mistakes and I see beauty all in one. I think there's one more.
I'm really pleased that they were able to get it done.
On the next page. This one is like my
Yeah.
sort of click.
That was so for the event, we'll meet as a committee, but
Yeah.
we want to do it downstairs at HC Media?
The meeting?
No, for the creative industry.
Like, we're gonna do a film
Oh,
event.
yeah,
I think
I
that'd be
we
great.
should.
Definitely.
I don't know, it took a lot, it seemed like it took a lot to black that space out. In terms of, they must have gone through rolls of gaff tape, boxes of gaff tape to get that.
Really?
Yeah, get that blacked out.
Oh, black that.
Because for showing anything filmic, you want blacks. Like you
Well,
want-
what are they doing,
Photo
like, when
darkness.
they do the movie nights, they do movies all the time down
The
there.
the experimental film festival, when they ran that,
They
Yeah.
had black, we
Yeah,
own
it's
black
totally-
curtains
Yeah.
that they put up everywhere and
Yeah.
taped up.
it taped up, it looked like a fair amount of work to get that,
Yeah.
to get that dark. And the other challenge is because they didn't have the money to do soundproof glass, every time any sort of emergency vehicle goes by,
Hmm.
it's,
Well, but yeah, we're not gonna sit and watch a future. film.
Yeah.
Right,
It's like,
yeah, so like, I don't know.
I don't know,
like,
I thought we were trying to do, a little bit of meeting, a little bit of.
I don't
fun.
know, well, I can't stay,
Yeah,
so
okay.
we can,
We can
but
talk
we
about
need to talk,
so-
we need to talk
so-
this through.
Yes.
Or whenever it is.
Not to preview.
Yeah, do you wanna take a stab at, sort of talking points for the?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want to see that?
I'm flat out.
I'll see.
I've already.
Give me the
I'll-
card.
Yes.
Dumped into your inbox.
Yeah, if you can get a draft,
I can do my card as well.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you, and I can give you,
You guys
let me
can-
give you
yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
have-
live up
we got-
in this,
I
so
have
I
more
definitely.
materials, so we got-
Oh, yeah, did you
Okay.
ever see us at the
Good,
farmer's
so we're-
market?
I was working in Lexington.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't make it to time for that.
I'm glad to have it as an option.
And,
That's so cool.
so yeah, we only
Jen, you
sell
have
at the farmer's market, because again, like our, like,
No one.
we just don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to meet demand, and we sell out every time we're